Welcome to YMI Talking, a podcast where the guests are so good, you'll wonder why the host is even talking. In each episode, you will hear one of the leaders of the Lehigh Valley's vibrant business hub. They will tell you the keys to their success, the mistakes they've made, and what they have in store for the future. Here is the host of YMI Talking, from YMI Insurance, Jimmy Honachik.
All right, that is me. I am Jimmy Honachik. And we have an awesome one today. I am extremely excited to just kind of dive into this. We have someone who I think everyone in Lehigh Valley knows, and if they don't, they ought to. He is, I don't even know what you would say, a multimedia baron, let's say. He's got his hands in any medium, you name it, he's there. George Wacker is the owner and operator and man behind Lehigh Valley with Love Media Group. They've got podcasts, they've got Facebook pages, they've got Instagram pages. They are everywhere. They are awesome. And it's definitely a breath of fresh air sort of in the media space, the local media space. So without any further ado, George, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I love your intro. You're so much cleaner than mine. I need whoever you hired to record that, I need them. That was really well done.
It's a lot goes into a podcast. I didn't realize, but I'm sure you're aware.
It's a lot of little elements. It's a lot of planning, and then you got to have the guts to put it out there.
Yeah. Are you
say here it is? Make fun of me. I don't know.
Yeah, we finally got there. Are you a planner by heart, or is that something that you just kind of had to get into?
It's funny when they would ask, like in your when you're getting like a job interview, what's your worst thing that you do? And mine was always, I guess now you're not supposed to like answer that correctly, but mine was always like organization. I just never was that good. So that was something when we started our business, and I'm like, I need to figure this out. And so now I am an exceptional planner, I think, and it's all because of technology. If I have an idea or something, it gets written down, or it is on a calendar, just to make sure like I'm fighting against myself.
Yeah, I am 100% the same way. I tell my staff if it's not on my calendar, it's not happening. Right. As soon as I think of something, I need technology to take over and put it into the world.
Which is, I guess, good. And then I think sometimes, like, am I relying on this? And I'm not. But I guess I'm putting other things in my brain. I feel like the minimum technology can take care of my planning.
Exactly.
Let them do that.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah, you have your own business now, and so the needs change. I mean, let's dive into Lehigh Valley with Love Media. First off, I love the name. How did you come up with that name?
Oh man, it's a whole story within itself. But when I was younger, let's say like 2008, I was working in public relations. I was a reporter for a little bit of time there, and it was really when blogs were very popular. Mm-hmm. I talk about it like it's a million years ago. It feels like 2 years ago, but a lot of it was blogging. There were blogs for all sorts of different stuff, and I wanted to do one that was about being 20 something in the Lehigh Valley, where to go for music or something to that effect, but I couldn't really get it to stick. And I saw another blog that was doing something national where they were making fun of news articles. So I'm like, what if I did that locally? And we did it, and it was Lehigh Valley with Love, sort of a play on From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
Like we're sending you stories from the Lehigh Valley with love. And I always get crap from people online. They're like, if we make fun of something, they're like, I thought this was Lehigh Valley with love. And I'm like, yeah, it is. But you kind of, I'm not going to explain the whole thing. Basically, it still comes down to, we love the Lehigh Valley and we want to show it off. And in the beginning, it was a little bit different than how we're doing it today. But, still that same pride in where we are.
And I think there's something to that, right? Like, at least I like to have fun with the things that I love. It's not just putting them up on a pedestal. You have to have fun with them sometimes.
You can't listen. You have to take yourself seriously, right? But then there needs to be times when you don't, or you also need to be able to have a real good appreciation of where you live, like non-ironically.
Yeah.
People will laugh at me. My dentist is up in Catasauqua. I keep them. I love them. Lehigh Dental, they're great. And whenever I go up there, I try to like set aside maybe an extra 20 minutes to walk around the borough of Caddy. I just think it's beautiful. And then there's something like, that is so weird. But I'm like, it is, but it isn't. Like, there's an appreciation of where we live. There's a lot of really, a ton of interesting people, a million interesting towns. You know, the Lehigh Valley is made up of so many different pockets of people and towns and history, that it's hard not to love it. But coming back to what you were saying, yeah, I think you need to be able to make fun of those things too, in order to kind of comprehensively take it all in. Like, if we can't make fun of the places that we live and the things that we enjoy, you know, what can we make fun of? We're the experts on it. I used to say in the beginning, you know, we can make fun of the Lehigh Valley, but if there's somebody from Scranton and they're making fun of like Easton, it's like, wait a minute, no, we can do that. You're not allowed to. So it's kind of like that Homerism. You know, it all comes from a place of love, and sometimes we get in trouble for that. But
so
what are you gonna do?
Irreverent, would you say that's a good word to describe what you're doing? How would you sum it up?
People have described some things as irreverent before. I think there are some things that we do that are irreverent, but I think, especially now, there's a lot of things that we do that are pointed. You know, we are trying to show the community and the communities that we live in and that we enjoy, and also the clients that we work with and the stories that we tell. We are sincerely, you know, committed to them. We really want to get that out there. But yeah, there are some times we're allowed to be irreverent, and we have some funny things that maybe you wouldn't see on different larger accounts. But I think that's what made us kind of successful in the beginning. A willingness to take some risks that maybe other people wouldn't do, or maybe it wasn't the right move at the time, but we took it, and you learn from it, right? So.
Well, I think there are many, I mean, obviously, like I said, you're multimedia, right? You have a lot of different arms to the business. And I could be wrong here, but I feel like each one sort of has its own personality. Is that fair?
Sure. I mean, when we began, it was 100% writing. You know, it was all writing. And now it's, you know, we're doing TikTok for clients and having to be experts on that. It's changed, and everything's changing. I was writing down, I was looking at the notes that you gave me, which was great. Thank you. Anyone who's going to join this podcast, Jimmy does a fantastic job of preparing you. You know, and one of the things I think that we've been good at is adapting and looking at new things, technology-wise or social media-wise, or, you know, as the world turns, and kind of looking at, hey, can we tap into that? And when is the right time to get into it? When's the right time to get out of it? You're never going to perfect that. But yeah, it's always a learning curve, and there's always a lot of things to do. So we're doing video, we're doing photographs, we're doing press releases, we're doing all sorts of stuff, and we have to make sure that we're doing them as well as anybody else.
Yeah. So when I came to know, and I think most people come to know Lehigh Valley with love, it is through those social channels, right? It's your Instagram, it's your Facebook, it was the blog, or is the blog. But you're telling us right now that there is way more that goes on, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people just assume that we're Lehigh Valley with love, and we're just an entity, which is great. Like, I don't mind that. But, you know, the crux of our business is we work with clients to develop their social media and public relations and digital media plans, and execute them. And, you know, so that's a lot of where our business is. And then the other side, of course, is the Lehigh Valley with love social media side, where we're posting photos of grocery store robots that are escaping. And
no, I was going to bring that up. Right?
Other things that people send us, or things that we even come across. Because again, it comes down to like that. I don't know. Maybe this is me. I'm a curious guy. I enjoy the things that are around me. So if I see, you know, something that I find interesting, I want to share that. Not everybody will find it interesting, but we've been lucky in the respect that sometimes we've been able to do that. And again, when you say irreverent, I guess we've just been lucky in the fact that we'll take that risk and share that post sometimes that maybe some other places aren't able to share, I guess. So I would love for you to see my social media inbox of the posts we get that people like share this out. Some of them I'm like, I will get arrested if I share that.
I was going to say,
sorry.
I'm sure there's plenty of not safe for work in there.
Right. For every Marty escapes the Hellertown Giant, we have stuff that we're like, I appreciate you sending this. This is great, but I will be in a lawsuit the second I put this on.
Well, let's talk about Marty for a second. I mean, I checked before this on Facebook. Marty's up to 40,000 likes and God knows how many comments. What happened there? What do you think really was the spark?
You know, it's funny. People are like, what are your biggest videos? And trust me, like we've had some videos do very well. Our podcasts and those videos that our live videos or things like that. Some of our largest videos are, number one, we've gotten 10 million views on a leaf sucker video.
Yes. I've
10
watched
million views
that.
on Marty escaping the Hellertown Giant.
I'm several of those.
And I think like 6 million views we got on, we did a video that I took of gas prices going up on a local, they were changing the sign to make the gas prices go higher.
Oh, wow.
But I just caught it at the right time. And so Marty was on Fox News, that gasoline video was on Fox News, and the leaf sucker video just kind of went viral because it was so aesthetically pleasing. So yeah, I mean, honestly, we're lucky in the sense that we have a platform where we can share a silly video like that and it might get some legs and become popular. And honestly, those are the more fun things to do because they're not work related and they're not necessarily like, I have to make sure I'm crossing my T's and dotting my I's. Like,
right.
Here is Marty escaping from the Hellertown Giant. And if you're not familiar, what happened was my friend was there. I'll tell the story. I won't reveal her name. She's like, hey, I was going to go into Giant, but I didn't go in because I was a little hungover. And so she was taking a video in her car and she sees Marty, the robot that's at Giant, who is there to ostensibly detect the spills, I think, in every aisle, just cruising through the parking lot. And then the second video is one of the employees at Giant pushing Marty back in. So I took these two videos. Actually, I asked her, can I take them? This is insanely hilarious. We put some music behind it, put it on TikTok, and then 2 days later, it's on Fox News. It's all over the place. And again, it's something where I'm asking a friend of mine, somebody I saw, can I use your content, giving them credit. We're not trying to take credit for it. We're just trying to share it out as that sort of resource that we can have. And what do you know? Like, it gets 10 million views, and that can get a couple more people to check us out.
Yeah.
We're not the Marty, I don't think people will do work with us because of the Marty video, but they might say, hey, this is a fun company. What are they doing?
It's absolutely like a flywheel effect, right? If I'm not, you're right. I'm not going to come to you for my corporate video because I saw this Marty video.
Right.
I am going to know the name of your company. And when it comes time to corporate video, oh, you guys do that too? Boom. Like I'm familiar with your brand.
And I think you're going to find more of that amongst quasi-professional and professional, like even the stuff that you're doing now, insurance, but we're doing a podcast talking about this robot. How does this translate to insurance? But it does, in the grand scheme of things. So yeah,
it's that same sort of flywheel effect, hopefully.
Right.
Now, oh, we're talking insurance. I know you from the podcast.
Sure. Or you're somebody that I'm like, I can trust. Like, I know that you're involved in the community and I know that you're not just going to take my money from insurance and never talk to me. Like, you're somebody who talks to people. Like, yeah, it's smart.
You do a ton in the community, obviously through Lehigh Valley with Love.
Sure.
But you're on the board of the chamber as well, right?
I'm on the Bethlehem board, the Arts Quest marketing board. I am on the North Side Alive board for Bethlehem. I was the alumni president for Moravian University for the last 2 years. My term ended. I think I'm going to join the PTA at my daughter's school next year.
Nice.
They've been harassing me. Listen, there's so many people who are involved way more than me. It's something that, I don't know, especially during COVID when it got to be a little bit easier to have meetings where we were discussing things, right? So sitting in this chair, I must have had, just like you, I'm sure, hundreds of meetings like that. it was an easier way to get involved. I want to be a part of the community. Every year we do a Christmas tree toss for charity at Mike's More Miles Automotive on Stepco Boulevard.
Yeah.
And we raise a couple $1,000 for Turning Point of the Lehigh Valley. Whenever we can do something like that, I always want to be a part because it's fun. It's like, what else are we? I don't know. Like, I love that community engagement aspect and running fun events like that, or just being a part of it.
Where do you think that comes from? Did you grow up around that sort of community involvement?
I guess I did. I never really thought about it. I always like being a part of some of those things that are bigger than you, that you can contribute to. And then there's other people, like I might go in and be like, hey guys, I can handle the video. I'm good at that. And then there's somebody else there who can handle like all the other stuff. It's just nice to be involved sometimes in things like that where the main goal isn't money. It's like, how can we do this really neat event? We put on a block party for Northside Alive, which is a group in my neighborhood of Bethlehem. Like, we just had a meeting the other day. We were talking about neighborhood cleanup and the block party in the park coming up. And I'm a dad too. My daughter's 6. Yeah. So if you talked to me 10 years ago, maybe that would have been a little bit different. But I hope it's something that stays with me for the rest of my life. I really enjoy being in a part of stuff like that. Yeah.
So it leads me to wonder, how do you have time? How do you manage the business, the family, all of this? How do you do it?
We have an intern right now too. So
there you go.
I don't know. It's tough. Like, I do it like anybody else does it. Like, it's as difficult as you want it to be. There have definitely been some choices. When I started out my company, the first thing I did is I went to people who had done it before and I asked them, how'd you do it? And now we're at a point, we're successful enough, and I'm very blessed to be successful enough that there might be times that we have to say no to stuff, and that's new.
Yeah.
And I've never had to do that before. But with success, you also have to figure out how to balance. And a true balance is allowing yourself time to recover. So that cool thing of like being the hustler and going 70 hours a week is cool, I guess, on paper or on social media, but you need that time. You need to, even if you have to schedule it, time to decompress and relax. So I guess it goes back to your whole question about planning. And I used to be not as good at that either, right? So, I guess as you live, you learn, become better at planning time off. In fact, we're planning right now to go down to Ocean City, Maryland in the summer. And those are things that, I don't know, I used to not, I'd be like, I'd deal with it a week ahead of time. So yeah, I'm just getting older, I guess is the answer.
Well, one thing I heard in there was I don't know if humbling yourself is the right word, but when you got started, you went to people with more experience, right? And sort of asked them, how did they do it and how have they had success? So my question is, how do you have a good podcast?
You do this, you are consistent, and you continue to make content.
Yeah. And
you put it out there, and you know that in the beginning, listen, I always say, the only person who was reading my blog when I first started it was my dad. Like, there's like one guy, that's really funny. But that was it. And it's just persistence. You have to make quality decisions and have ideas here and there. But for somebody, like, if you're starting out, when we met previously to this, like, we hung out at Social Still for a little bit. And we're talking about it's about being genuinely interested in doing a podcast and not just like, hey, I went to a real estate seminar and they said I need a podcast, so I'm going to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. Like, you want to be actively engaging. People can tell when you're selling them a car.
Yep.
Right? So it's about, I still want to sell you this car, but I still give a crap about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, there's a nuance to that I think can get lost. But I think it always comes back to consistency and being authentic. And if you can do those two things, you're going to have success.
I'm writing this down. Consistency and being authentic. Because I think you're right. I think you got to keep it going. Otherwise, people don't care. Yeah. And yet, you are. Because you're right. People can smell that a mile away.
I mean, that's just what I've learned. Like, listen, we do things, we like doing tongue-in-cheek stuff, advertising-wise. But we still always try to have that authenticity to it where people don't feel, I don't know, talked down to.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like we're trying to have fun. We're trying to say, like, the Lehigh Valley is 1 million people. It's not some small area.
No.
Like, I think there are some people who live here still that are like, wow, like who cares? A lot of people care.
Yeah.
And we live in an area that, whether you like it or not, you know, it's a bellwether political area. It's one of the largest growing areas, not only in Pennsylvania, but the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think there's a lot of growth to be had. I'm really, even with the interns we have, like, I'm so curious on what they do after they are with us. Like, I don't know. It's exciting, and it's exciting to be a part of it. And we're really lucky to have a little bit of an audience here in the area, and we want to continue that and do some fun stuff with it.
Yeah. So I had Pete Reika on prior to this, and we were having that conversation about the Lehigh Valley, and he said, look, in European soccer, you get relegated, right? Like, if you're in the top league and you don't do well, you get relegated, or you can get moved up. And he's like, look, we are maybe the smallest player, maybe we're in the bottom, but we're in the majors now. We are, the Lehigh Valley is in the majors. We continue to grow, and I think you're right. It's a good place to be.
I just don't feel the need to qualify ourselves. You know, like, it is what it is. Like, it's a great area. Does it have its faults? Absolutely. So does everywhere. Like, is there anywhere that doesn't have its faults? Yeah. So that's why we continue to just love being a part of it. I mean, there's something to do all the time. There's never we have I have to, like, figure out who to interview because there's so many people and you would never have the same interview twice. So we're really lucky to have been able to grow a business in this area and to network with the people we network, meet people like you. You know, it's been really fortunate, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Can we talk about the sponsors on your podcast? Because
sure.
I love them.
Yes.
Who do you have that sponsors your podcast?
We have Wind Creek. You know, we're working with them. WXPN, Molly's, Michael Bernardin with Remax Realty. We've done some work with Kitchen Magic. We've also done work with Lehigh Valley Made Possible in the Lehigh Valley, which is through LVEDC. I said Molly's. It's Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub in South Bethlehem. Listen, and that wasn't overnight. Like, we've been doing a podcast, you know, I've had multiple people. It's 4 years now. So I think it just becomes, as some of these mediums explode and then flesh back out, I think you'll find more of that. You'll find more local sponsorship moving from some of the larger traditional media to some of these smaller, more niche media, because they're going to reach the exact demographic through the phone that you couldn't reach in that traditional media in the past. Yeah. So you could be a flower shop that's going to work with a local, you know, maybe a local drink influencer on Instagram and work in some of those flower things with, you know what I mean? Like, there's a million different ways to do this type of stuff, and it's really exciting to kind of be at the floor as it happens.
How are you able to manage it? What I hear is the media world is almost fracturing more than it ever has, right? It
I guess
used to be kind of top down, these big conglomerates, but now you have all of these options. How are you and Lehigh Valley with Love able to kind of keep up on the trends and know what's a trend and what's sort of a flash in the pan?
Listen, you're going to fail 9 times out of 10 with trends. It's tough. You know, you get lucky too. Like, if I could tell you every leaf sucker video I put up there is going to get 10 million views, well, I'd be a millionaire. It's kind of going with your gut on a lot of stuff. One of the things that I think has been beneficial to us is that we don't have a lot of red tape. And when if we think something is a good idea, we launch it. And if it fails, at the absolute worst, we can delete it. You know what I mean? But for every 10 million view post, you know, we have views that don't. We have stuff that doesn't go so well, stuff that doesn't work. You know, we're getting better at selecting the stuff that does. And don't try to do everything. So, like, we're a media company, so we're trying to do everything. Right. We have a podcast. We have a video podcast that goes along with it. We're doing TikTok. We're doing everything. You don't have to do that as your own business. However, for us, or you even look at some of the newer media companies that are coming out locally, like from PBS with Lehigh Valley News, they're going hard into it. Where I remember, like in the beginning when social media started coming out, 2008, 9, 10, some of those traditional media papers, they didn't want anything to do with it. This is crap. We're not going to ever use it. We're the paper. We're around forever. Well, 10 years later, they're begging for that type of engagement on there, and they didn't maybe use that as properly. So it's kind of hedging some of your bets, looking at what is working, taking some risks, and being prepared to fail, before you maybe hit one of those good ones.
Yeah. Being prepared to fail. I'm just taking notes on how to be George Wacker.
Please don't.
But in all seriousness, like you guys have done obviously a very good job of this, and a lot of people, whether it's their business, their small business, just themselves, they see content, right, as almost you have to be there. What advice do you have for people who are trying to make a splash or at least get their brand out through content creation?
My biggest piece of advice is to take a breath and look at what's around you, because you're there every day, and the environment that you're in every day becomes very boring to you, whether it's like the coolest retail shop or the most awesome go-kart ramp or whatever. You're there every day, so you look at those things like you don't even notice them. You walk in. But other people will be endlessly fascinated by sometimes even the smallest things that you do at your work or business every day that you think are boring. I give this example. This is a really long time ago, but it's kind of an example of a good one where you're talking about like the Lehigh Valley Airport, and they do an amazing job. This is years and years ago. It's one of those things that we're looking for more content. It's like share out planes coming in. Restaurants, this is easy.
Right.
They share out new dishes. They share out drinks and that sort of stuff. But what do you do daily that might be mundane to you that you can pick out and say, this is actually interesting? It might even be like a way that you organize, stuff like that I think we tend to think other people wouldn't care about this. And yet you care about those types of things when you're scrolling through. So, why can't that work for you? Is there a certain way that your office does coffee that's different? I don't know. There's all these different types of things that I think we all have this content within us, and we look externally to how can I get it, but it's kind of a lot of it's right there.
Yeah,
you're creating content in this space, that normally would be, I'm assuming, working time, but now you're taking that working time and you're making it podcast working time.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of that whole process. Look at what you have, and you'd be surprised. The stuff around you, I think people really enjoy sometimes more than you know.
Yeah. You're mundane, like it becomes mundane because you do it every day. But just because you do it every day doesn't mean it's not exciting.
I agree. And I think about that even when I do like video editing. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting through another one. And then I'm talking with my intern and he's like, hey, I would love to, sit over your shoulder while you do one of those. I'm like, you're right. Like I'm not thinking that way right now, So yeah, that would be one thing. If I could give you one piece of advice, it would take a step back and look at some of the things and how that can become content, and how you can share that with your followers. Look at the stuff that you are connecting with on social media, and then how can you make that same feeling come out of what you're doing?
Yeah, that's great. All right, so we are running out of time. I don't know how we got there so fast, but we do have a sponsor. It is Notch Modern Kitchen and Bar. They are awesome. I tell everyone, basically, you can go there and like tell them your mood and what alcohol you like, and they'll put a cocktail together for you.
I did a video there.
Did you?
With Jay Nee, before the Gin Invitational at Arts Quest, we did a video in Notch.
Oh, get out! What was the video?
It was for the Gin Invitational.
Yep.
Which is coming up again. Advertisement for the Gin Invitational. I don't know what date it is. But look it up. Go to artsquest.org. I think it's definitely on there.
Yeah, I think it's in June.
No, Notch is great.
I think Jay is going to be on the podcast. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, well, tell him I said hello.
I will for sure.
Notch is good stuff. I highly recommend.
Absolutely. And so I like to ask all my guests, what if you had to pick a cocktail or a drink, like what is George Wacker going to on a Friday afternoon after he gets off work?
It's horrible, right? It's like, I will have like a 40-year-old guy drinking White Claw. I don't know. Like during COVID, I don't drink like whiskey or anything anymore. Like it's just the world was too tense at the moment. Yeah, I go for a nice old fashioned. You know what I mean? There's something too, like when you have something like that that's an old timey type drink, makes you feel a little cool.
You feel like you're Don Draper
for an hour. Yeah. And you're like, I know what type of whiskey, and you know, I get Lafroig. Lafroig whiskey is my favorite, but something like that where you can enjoy the drink itself and take some time with it. In fact, since we are recording this on St. Patrick's Day, I might be getting those later today. We'll see.
Perfect. Well, George, I cannot say it enough. Thank you for coming on here. What you're doing with Lehigh Valley with Love is amazing. If people aren't following you on Facebook and Instagram, they need to. And how do they find your podcast? Go
to lvwithlove.com is your easiest way. We have all of our recent stuff there. If you Google Lehigh Valley with Love, how about if you Google Lehigh Valley Podcast, we're going to come up number one for now anyway. But just search us out. You know, we're always looking to collaborate. Clearly we do business, so sponsorships, but if you're a nonprofit, you know, we always like to work with nonprofits a little bit differently. Reach out, send us an email. We're going to respond. You know, and if you ever see us out, say hello.
Please do that. George is the man, and I'll say it again. Thanks for coming on, George.
Oh my God, this is great. I love to be on the other side. Like I'd like to somebody else has the stress of like planning all this stuff, and I can just answer. So no, this is fantastic. I love what you're doing. Keep rolling with it.
I will. All right. Thanks, George.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the YMI Talking podcast. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more content from amazing personalities in the Valley, please subscribe, leave a rating, and drop us a quick review.